Islam,
Islam.
Islamism. We're back
Islam.
again. Islam,
Praise
Islam.
Allah.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. We want to welcome our guests and our viewers. Well, our guests, we have no guests. Welcome our viewers and our listeners to the Moorish Sense Channel. I'm one part of the dynamic duo. I'm Brother Brendan Joyner Ill, and
I'm Brother Valance Bay.
we like to welcome you to the Moorish Sense Channel. We're back again on another Thursday here at 10 p.m. It's best time to get the work done, right? Right,
Yeah,
Sheik?
yeah, that's right. Good
Okay,
time. Yeah,
that's right.
praise Allah.
Praise Allah. You want to just give them a rundown?
Yeah, so basically we back on this is the wrapping up of the segment of why nationality is important, why we need a nationality, and more or less it's a heavy subject to unpack. So we just hit a couple of different we on this one we just gonna hit a couple of different points of wrapping up nationality. In the future or in future shows we'll come back to it because once again it is a heavy subject and there's a lot of information out there on it, and we're not trying to confirm what the prophet is saying. Basically there are people who are confirming what the prophet Noble Ali says. So that's we're gonna show a couple of different sources tonight, and dealing with why our nationality is Moorish American and why we can't be African Americans and why our race cannot be black.
That's right.
Hmm.
Well, as usual, and what we often like to do, because this is what we do, to raise not only the ethers within our meeting, but to raise the ethers within ourselves. We're going to begin our meeting with our segment off with the Moorish American prayer.
Islam.
Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe,
The Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation
and my salvation
by night
by night
and by day,
and by day
through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
Islam. Rise giving praises to Allah, giving honors to the Prophet, the Holy Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, who was born in the state of North Carolina, January 8th, 1886. I want to give honors to the Prophet's forerunner, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to give honors to our national officials. I want to give honors to the Moors at 1055 North Milton Avenue, 2900 Pressman Street as well as all the other respective temples under our administration. I want to give honors to all Moorish Americans, all past and present leaders, those that we know and those that we don't know. And I also want to give honors to those who are tuning in this evening, regardless of who you are. We thank you for your support. We thank you for tuning in. We ask that you put your questions in the chat. And if you have any questions at all, if anything is unfamiliar, by all means, Brother James Crossley Bay, Islamo, it's good to see you too. And all praises are due to Allah. That's my brother from a long time ago, all the way from days in Calverton Elementary in West Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
It was
You
good to
went
see
to
you.
Calverton?
Yeah, with the Calverton, Mo. Calverton and then Rockland.
Mo,
Hard
I went to Lamel, Mo.
Yeah, that's how you know.
Praise Allah.
But let's get started. You ready, Sheik?
Yeah, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, go ahead. I got you.
So one of the articles, because I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding when it comes to when a prophet named the temple the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? Uh, what is science, right? So we know that science is a systematic branch of knowledge that can be tested and proven at any given time. In this particular instance, Moorish, it's a science about how we are Moorish, how our nationality is Moorish, why we use the terminology as such. And there was a article, because I like I like the scientific method as well, because when you look at the scientific method, even though it can be applied in you know it can be applied in a sense of doing what we would call natural science. but it can also be applied in one's life as well if you
That's right.
use that method. And some people would disagree with it, but I found an article that talked about scientific knowledge, right? And it was very interesting because a lot of people um, don't understand that when we're talking about science, we're talking about something that is it's a very inner or eternal thing that happens when we're talking about science, or when we study a certain thing, when we're studying that particular subject, basically we are going within to ask Allah to lead us to what the truth is,
That's
right?
right.
This article, it talks about that, right? It goes into telling you what science is, and this comes from a record, um, and it's dealing with the flashlights of truth, basically. And when I found it, I was like, wow. I said, this is right in line with what more science is. So I'm gonna just read it a little bit, read a
Go
little
ahead.
bit of it. It says, there is knowledge and knowledge. There are as many different phases of knowledge as there are minds, but the real knowledge is scientific knowledge. What is scientific knowledge? It is knowledge of the absolute. And I'm gonna do a little bit of translation. It says God, but we're gonna say Allah is all knowing, all science. Then knowing is scientific knowledge. This knowledge is not gained from books, which are written by the intellect of man. To gain this knowledge appears as foolish to the unawakened man or woman. But the awakened one, even at the first glimpse, perceives that there is a sound, a deep ring, and even a word spoken in scientific knowledge. While to the unawakened man, it seems foolish, even though she has been educated and wisdom of the 20th century has attained unto scientific knowledge. He or she knows how to live, how no longer
Breaking up a little bit, Sheik. Yeah, I think we lost your signal.
okay. Am I back?
All right, there you go. Now you're good. Yeah, yes, sir. Yep.
I don't know what's going on. But it goes on to say he no longer thinks it necessary to adjust. Oh, excuse me, to run hither or thither, but with his mind scientifically adjust, he sincerely abides in contentment whenever he may be and wherever he may be. By keeping his mind stayed upon Allah, he is conscious of peace, harmony, and love. So introduce that.
It's breaking up a little bit on the signal sheet. It's gonna buffer out. It's gonna come back.
Okay.
There you go. Now you're good.
It's not, when we talking about science, it's not just talking about reading a book and thinking you got it. It's
That's right.
about actually making these things applicable to your life and actually implementing them and actually living according to those particular things. So
That's right.
I just wanted to share that when we talking about more science, it truly means more sense and more insight into life.
That's right. And I like to share one point too, right?
Uh-huh.
So because this, the title and the topic of this presentation is what is your nationality? And we're using what the Sheikh Melvin Valans Bay just stated for our viewing and listening audience. We're using what's known as the scientific method. And I think at times, I stated in the last or the previous episode, and even the first episode, that when it comes to our people, the Asiatics of America, there's somewhat of a disconnect, or there's somewhat of a sense of confusion when it comes to race and nationality. But I
Mhm.
also think that when people hear the Moorish Science Temple of America, and those who have visited the Moorish Science Temple of America, or even have looked possibly on YouTube, or have acquired some of our literature, but maybe have never even sat in a meeting.
Mhm.
Um, I think that some people even get the fact that our movement is a divine national movement. It's not one or the other; it's one and the same. But nevertheless, nationality and religion are not the same.
Right.
And when you look at the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Moorish Science Temple of America, it is a religious corporation that teaches both nationality and religion. But over the years, it even seems, and I'm just taking a look at it. It's at times as Moors or Moorish Americans, we don't really quite, and I'm gonna say we collectively, we kind of
Mhm.
misplaced the thought between nationality and religion.
That's
Um,
right.
we misplaced the thought, the separation from many Moors in many different ways, depending on the way that we're taught by our elders, etc. um, it can create a sense of intertwinement. But the uniting point for all Moors is nationality.
That's right.
Nationality entails the origins of genetics, right? It also deals with the ethnic origin of who we are. Because when you look at the term ethnic, ethnic it's a rather new term. It was a term that was coined in the late 19th century, and then it was actually amplified somewhere between the early 20th century and that's the 1900s, where it took not necessarily precedence, but it kind of replaced the term nationality. But
Hmm.
nationality entails again the origin of genetics, and nationality consists of one's genealogy line. So give me 1 second, please. And it's interesting because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he introduces us to the term genealogy in our 101 questions, specifically dealing with the man called Jesus, which
Hmm.
the whole world knows about. And it goes in um, when the question pertains to the genealogy of Jesus. And
Hmm.
then you look at the genealogy of the Moorish Americans, and we're dealing with the descent, the family tree, and the root. Islam.
Islam. Yeah, because let the truth be told, Prophet Noble Ali was and is the first Moorish American,
That's right.
and he wanted to be the father of our race.
That's right.
And basically, it says what is in our questionnaire. It says what is his nationality? Moorish American. So therefore, our nationality is Moorish American,
That's
right?
right. Islam.
So it's a and we don't want people to get it twisted. In this instance, we're talking about people because we do understand that boats, as it was read in the article, boats or ships, uh, other things can have a nationality as well, right? And like I said, it goes it can get a little heavy, but we don't want to give people too much in reference to what it is, but we're just showing in this particular show, as in the previous shows, how we cannot be African American because Africa is a continent. It
Right.
has 54 different countries in Africa, and we can't possibly come from all 54. We can't be. We determine what a synonym is, right?
Right.
Um, because a synonym is a word that's spelled differently but means the same. So we can't be an Afro American because the Afro is a hairstyle. And then if you break the word Afro down, A means one, like uh, A means one, and then fro mean when you go to somewhere, you have to come fro, which means back.
That's right.
So basically, essentially, we're not a hairstyle, and we're not identified as one backwards American. And then, of course, we know all those other derogatory names, colored. We can't be colored because color is anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or
Honest to
dyed.
God.
So basically, if there's any question in your mind, what is our nationality? Is Moorish American? Our race is Asiatic,
That's
right?
right.
But yeah, so
That's right.
praise Allah.
The word
And
African. Oh, go ahead, Shake.
no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the word African. When you're dealing with the word African itself, it comes from the Greek word affair. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
right.
saying? So that's a foreign. That's a foreign concept anyway. If you're referring, and I'm not trying to get down on people, but referring to yourself as an African is a vague concept in
Hmm.
itself in the first place, and it is not. It's not. I guess you could say it's not something. It's almost the equivalent of wearing black as a badge of honor. You're getting it from someone who's outside of yourself. And you're
Hmm.
identifying yourself.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but real briefly, I wanted to since we were on that part, we were dealing with the concept of genealogy and ancestry, etc. I wanted to share this article with our viewing and listening audience. Give me 1 second, just so people know that we're not blowing smoke up here.
Right.
All right. So what we have in front of us, this is actually coming from the United States Census. This was put out back in 2017. It was last revised February 14th, 2017, and this is was a question about ancestry, referring to a person's ethnic origin or descent. So we just made reference to the fact that nationality consists of one's genealogy line of descent, family tree, and roots. So when the prophet states that the Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa, the prophet Noble Drali is tracing us back to our ancient fathers and mothers. But in this specific article, it states this. It says ancestry refers to a person's ethnic origin or descent roots or heritage, or the place of birth of the person or person's parents or ancestors before their arrival in the United States. Some ethnic identities, such as German, which is a nationality, Jamaican, which is a nationality, can be traced to geographic areas outside the United States, while other ethnicities, such as Pennsylvania Dutch, which is north of us here in Maryland, they live in Pennsylvania, or Cajun, evolve in the United States. The intent of the ancestry question is not to measure the degree of the attachment to the respondent to a particular ethnicity. For example, a person of Irish, a response of Irish might reflect the total involvement in an Irish community, or only a memory of ancestors several generations removed from the individual. A person's ancestry is not necessarily the same as his or her birth. Not all people of German ancestry were born in Germany.
That's
In
right.
fact, most were not. Currently, when someone reports more than two groups for their ancestry in America Community Survey, only the first two ancestries are tabulated. So when you look on census records and things of that nature, what you're going to find a specific codification that we're going to get into later on in this show, and we're going to get into the origin of that codification. But I wanted to bring that point up, and the last point that I wanted to bring in regards to this, in reference to this, is this: some people identify their ancestry as American. So people get down on us, and they say, well, isn't everybody American? Well, yes, to some degree, but guess what? Like I stated before in the first episode, when you look at different holidays, when you look at different customs and all these in different communities, individuals are identifying with their nationality or their descent origin of their foreparents. You understand what I'm saying? And it's only right for us to be able to do the same thing. The prophet Noble Drali, he teaches us that our nationality is Moorish American. He also teaches us, as you stated earlier, that his nationality is Moorish American. But before that, the question that they always caught my attention, it states, well, where was the prophet born? The prophet was born in the state of North Carolina, 1886. So this article ties into the fact that, as I stated before, that a person's ancestry is not necessarily the same as his or her birth. All right. And then the last part is this. It says this. It says some foreign-born or children of the foreign-born may report American to show that they are part of American society. There are many other reasons people may report their ancestors as American, and the growth in this response has been substantial. The ancestry question, was added to the census in 1980. So the earliest information available for this question is from 1980. Several publications listed in the publication section of this ancestry website contain from 1980 to 1990 data. So that's something that, you don't have to investigate, but we've investigated it and we've looked into it, and we've found some significant findings pertaining to those earlier findings of ancestry data from over 40 years ago.
Yeah. Praise
Yeah,
Allah.
Islam.
Islam. And it's real interesting how people, they're educated in a Eurocentric educational system,
That's right.
right? And they don't have anything like we had, you know, to offset their thinking or to make them look at things in a different way. So, as we were demonstrating about how we use scientific knowledge, which um we're not saying that the empirical or empirical evidence that's out there, it's there. It's just we need to be able to have a guide to be able to guide us to be able to see that we're not just trying to push a narrative because we don't want to be something uh that is identified as, as being negative or whatever.
That's right.
That's not what we're doing. We are showing that there's definite information. Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he came technically in 1913, and then he established the Moorish Sense. That's when it was founded, and then in the paper sense, we know and understand in 1926, we became an incorporated
Organization.
organization,
That's right.
right? So Prophet Noble Drew Ali was talking about this stuff in 1913 up until 1926, and what winds up happening, people think that it's something we just coming up with. So when we find out that these identifications of race and nationality and ethnicity are kind of like how people identifying themselves, that's very new.
That's
And
right.
what the prophet is telling us is that we can look in ancient records to see who and what it is that we are, right?
That's
And
right.
unfortunately, a lot of people go and try to look at they try to go and look at Africa.
Right.
But yeah,
You gonna run into some yeah
you're gonna run into some issues, and
some
and
issues over
and
there.
in later shows we gonna show you why you're gonna run into issues,
That's
right?
right.
Because let the truth be told, Africa is not what it seems.
At
Um,
all.
Praise Allah.
It's
Yeah. So I want to look at this. It's an article that comes from this book called Promoting Community Change, and it's going to be in two parts, but um it's on page 14 and 15, and basically the name of the article actually is the need for cultural awareness and respect, and it blows race out the water, right? And it
right.
tells, and I got this in the
Hold on, Sheik. You breaking up. You breaking up. Coming through slowly. It's buffering. All right, you good now.
okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, sir.
this it was in a community development course, but I'm gonna just go to the bottom of the page where you people might see a little red arrow. It says the entire notion of race itself is ambiguous. Um, Calls it one of the most misunderstood, misused, and often dangerous concepts in the modern world. Racism has categorized people of different skin color, different religions, or different nationalities, although the concept of race itself is of Du Bois scientific validity. The ideas are different from and less than can be very powerful. So now we see that race was a device to hide nationality,
That's right.
and not only to hide nationality, but also to define ours as our race as something inferior to
Inferior.
other nationalities, right?
That's right.
So now here you go with a college record from a community development course that tells you that race is actually a Du Bois concept.
That's
So
right.
if you want to call our race anything, we should be called Asiatic, right?
Islamism.
Yeah.
Here's the second
So,
part.
yeah, and that's the second part. So I read that, where it says misunderstood, misused, and often dangerous concepts in the modern world. Racism has categorized people of different skin color, which we know skin can be a color,
That's right.
but it says different religions or different nationalities, although the concept of race itself is of Du Bois scientific validity. Now, when we say Du Bois, that means that it's fake,
It's fake,
right?
right? It's
Yeah,
not real.
it's not real.
Yeah,
And and now we start to see when we start going into these other articles of where race and why they don't really deal with nationality the way that they should when it comes to our people.
that's right.
Now, in the divine constitution and bylaws, it said that slavery lasted from 1779.
We're gonna pull that right up so the
Okay.
public can see it.
Okay.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. All right, here we go. And here's a copy. So this is for the public.
Yeah. So in Act 6, it says slavery lasted from 1779 to
79 to 1865.
1865.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm like, okay, so I'm in the temple one day, I'm sitting in 1779, and then I'm just thinking on it, thinking on it, and then one day, it was somebody teaching, and they start talking about uh Johann Blumenbach.
Blumenbach, right,
So lo and behold, I find an article on Johann Blumenbach, right?
right.
And in there it says in 1779 he came up with the five classification, or he had five skulls,
Mm-hmm.
and these five skulls basically he identified them, and this is where the system of race started being introduced specifically in Europe, but in later years it came to America, and we're going to show you how it came to America. But this article right here that you see is talking about the introduction of Johann Blumenbach, who was a German scientist, and this is his five skulls that he found, and he identified. So basically, he divided the human species into five races, and this was in 1779. So here it is, the same date that's in the Divine Constitution and Bylaws
That's right.
is the same time that Johann Blumenbach finds or divides the human species into five races.
Which later on became known as social Darwinism.
That's right. And later it was found on, basically they did some cranial research, or skull research, in other words,
That's
right?
right.
And basically the description of which is the description of human skulls, and between 1793 and 1795, the Caucasian race, which is or white race, the Mongolian or yellow race, the Malayan or brown race, the Ethiopian or black race,
Hmm.
and the American or red race. So now we see that this system comes from Johann Blumenbach.
That's right.
But if he was in Germany, we want to know, well,
How did it get here?
how did it get to America?
Right.
Well, in the next, we want to show you a picture of a man,
That's right.
right, of how he took Johann Blumenbach's system and introduced it here in America, and we're
And
going to
and
show you.
and while we show the picture,
Uh-huh.
we're going to show the picture of the man, and you can give the audience a little detail, a little background information on the man as well as the organization he was a part of, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna give them a little snippet, just to know and understand, how we're in the construct today, these racial classifications, and the things you see on your job applications, and not just that, but just how society is kind of working on off of a like a unsaid caste system to some degree.
that's right.
That's right.
which Johann Blumenbach, really, he got his system from India,
That's
right?
right.
and he just redefined it. Whatever college he was going to up in Germany, he just redefined that system. Um, in some instances, when I do research on Johann Blumenbach, some parts of me, I don't think he really knew what was going on at the particular time. Think he was just trying to get his. He was trying to become a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and he identified. I'm not really sure if he was influenced negatively. I think he was just, doing research and going off of some information that was based in the past.
That's right.
I haven't been able to determine if, if if what he was doing was malicious or not as of yet. Um, but this man right here is Mr. Walter Plecker, Walter Ashby Plecker.
That's right.
So he owned slaves. He was a merchant. He was a merchant and he was the owner of slaves, and he fought in the Civil War, right? So interestingly, he graduated from the University of Maryland, right? And then in later years, he went to Virginia to become the registrar of vital statistics, right?
That's right.
And basically this was during the 20th century. And Dr. Walter Ashby Plecker, he believed in what is called racial purity, right? Um, and he thought that African Americans and Native Americans were inferior to so-called white people, or what we call Europeans, right?
Right.
Dr. Plecker did not want Virginia Indians to have equal rights with Europeans, European people, or so-called white people, just as he didn't want just as so-called black Virginians did not, right?
That's right.
He, he was convinced that there were no Virginia Indians without some trace of African ancestry.
That's
Now,
right.
now we getting, now we seeing how the people who they call Indians are not really Indians, right? And
Right.
the people who they call black are not really black. Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
to add on to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're dealing with Walter Ashby Plecker, he was actually part of a specific group,
The
right?
Anglo-Saxons Club.
That's right.
That's
So
right.
what I'm about to read right now, and I'm just going to pull it up. We're
Yeah,
going to
go
got
ahead.
2 pages of it. The
Okay,
first
go
page
ahead.
is pertaining to Walter Ashby Plecker, but
Okay.
this is actually a dissertation that was put out in '91, April 11th, 1991, and it's titled "Eugenics, Race, and Integrity in the 20th Century:
Mm-hmm.
Assault on Virginia's Indians." And the guy's name was J. David Smith. He was a professor of education in the human development department at Lynchburg College in Virginia. So this is what it says, and I'm just going to read it, the first page and the second page.
Mm-hmm.
It says, in the fall of 1922, John Powell, Ernest Sivers Cox founded the Anglo-Saxons Club of America.
Mm.
Powell was an influential Richmonder with an FFV heritage, and you can look that up. He was also known internationally as a composer and a concert pianist. One of his best works is known as Rhapsody Negre, which is based on the themes from spirituals, minstrel shows, and plantation life.
Wow.
Cox was an insurance salesman and would-be historian, so he wasn't even a real historian, who wrote books entitled White America and Lincoln's Negro Policy. And that book right there is a smear campaign against Lincoln. I actually have a copy of that second record.
Mm-hmm.
Powell and Cox were brought together by their shared beliefs in I'm gonna say European supremacy. European supremacy based on social Darwinism and the eugenic necessity for racial separatism. An article in the Richmond News Leader in June 1923 described the goals of the Anglo-Saxons Club of America. End quote. The fundamental purpose of the organization is to preserve and maintenance of the Anglo-Saxon ideals and civilization in America. The purpose is to be accomplished in 3 ways. First, by strengthening the Anglo-Saxon instincts, traditions, and principles among representatives of our original American stock. Second, intelligent selection and inclusion of immigrants. And third, by fundamental and final solutions of racial problems, in general, most, especially of the Negro problem. And the Prophet Noble Drali makes reference to the Negro problem being solved only as it can, and that's by way of the Moorish Temple of America. And Sheikh Karim Hashim Il, thank you. The First Families of Virginia is what FFV stands for. And you go to the Great Book of the Resurrection, and when we're dealing with Pocahontas, it talks about some of the finest families from Virginia coming from her. So those are also dealing with the First Families of Virginia as well, right? It
That's right.
says, also including in the News Leader article was a related petition under Powell's leadership, the Anglo-Saxons Club. There were several chapters in Virginia who were seeking signatures endorsing the following motions. And here are the motions right here. Let me close this one. And so our audience can see this one. And this is when we get down to those racial classifications and categories. Number one, here it is. There shall be instituted immediately a system of registration and birth certificates showing the racial composition, and it's in parentheses, white, black, brown, yellow, and red, of every resident of the state. Number two, no marriage license shall be granted save upon presentation or attestation under the oath of both parties of the said registration of birth certificate. Number three, so-called white persons can only marry whites. Number four, for the purpose of this legislation, the term white person shall apply only to individuals who have no trace whatsoever of any other blood than Caucasian, end
Mm-hmm.
quote. All right. It says this petition was presented to the Virginia General Assembly at its next session. The purpose of this petition and the goals of the Anglo-Saxons Club of America were achieved during the session of 1924 with the passage of the Race Integrity Act.
Mm-hmm.
This legislation was enacted largely as a result of lobbying efforts of John Powell, Ernest Cox, and Virginia's first registrar of vital statistics, Walter Ashby Plecker.
Mm-hmm.
In essence, the race integrity law created two racial groups in Virginia, white and colored. Anyone who cannot prove herself or himself white was classed as colored for the purpose of birth records, marriage license, school attendance, or death certificates, all points where personal freedom and governmental control interacted. Let
Man.
me stop right there.
Yeah. And the racial, so he created the Racial Integrity Act. He also instituted the one drop rule,
Right.
right? And this man was so shrewd, right? It was when I was looking at some of the research, it was a so-called white lady, right? She went into the hospital, and the midwife
Mm-hmm.
helped deliver the child, and this European lady told the midwife that the child father was Asiatic, right?
Right.
And basically, but she put on a birth certificate that the child was white or European, right? Um, Months later, Walter Ashby Plecker himself wrote her a letter and said, "Ma'am, you told the midwife that your father's child was, in his words, a Negro, and he said your child is not white, your child is a mulatto." Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, he waged a campaign to discredit anyone claiming to be an Indian. Why? He thought that Virginia Indians were part of a conspiracy to escape their true place in society. Dr. Plecker's idea of their true place was one without equal rights.
That's right.
Now check this year out. In 1928, Dr. Plecker began attaching a warning on all Indian birth and death records. So now this stuff is they codifying it in law. You see
Right.
what I'm saying?
That's right.
And now we see why our people are treated a certain way when it comes down to certain laws. It's almost like an inherent or unwritten rule of how people should be treated, so to speak, right?
That's right.
It says the warning stated that although the certificate stated that the person was Indian, the person should be considered colored. And then in parentheses, it has black. Then in 1943, he compiled a county by county listing of the surnames, which are last names of persons who claim to be Indians.
That's right.
since he believed that all Virginia Indians had African ancestry, he sent this list to the officials in each county so that they could prevent Indians from passing as white people.
That's right.
This would ensure that they would not have equal rights. Dr. Plecker was partly responsible for discrimination in Virginia against African Americans and Native Americans.
Yeah, my great grandmother's family actually ended up on there. You got names like Tate, which is my great grandmother's surname, Sorwell, etc. And you
Mhm.
find it based on the county. So that's definitely that's on point, sheet.
So then it goes on to say during World War One, Native Americans in Virginia served in the armed forces with white troops, but in World War II, Dr. Plecker's influence led to them being inscripted into colored troops. When the Indians protested, they were ignored. The issue became very complex as one court case after another ensued. Eventually, the Native Americans won,
That's
right?
right.
But now you see where you go into where they got these people called the $5 Indians.
Indians. That's right.
Yeah, so and in later shows we'll show where this word, how this word, what the word Indian replaced in
That's
later
right.
shows. Yeah. So, um, man, that's just to unpack and this is the article that I was reading.
That's right.
And this article came from it was uh it was a document that was in Montgomery County schools, and this was compiled by Miss Melissa Muchovich, October 1998.
Praise Allah.
Yeah, yeah. So if anybody want, go look it up. And and attached is the registration. This is one of the registration certificates, right?
Right.
And at the bottom you'll see it's asterisk, and it says a white person is one with no trace whatsoever of blood of another race, except that one with 1/16 of the blood of American Indian, unmixed with other race, may be classed as white. The date of birth may be omitted if desired. And then the form has a number 59-3-17-124-65M. And it's a back, but I could not locate the back of the form.
That's
But
right.
you see how they also try to insert themselves with um being Native American, right? It's crazy, man.
Place themselves on, man.
Yeah, yeah. Praise Allah.
Praise
So
Allah.
we see what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is teaching. he not just he not just teaching it. You just have to you got to slow down the rhythm and be able to see what he's saying to you with a little bit of investigation. That's not a fly by night thing where you're gonna come and you're gonna read and by golly you got it. You're gonna have to take some time. You're gonna have to attend the Sunday school.
And the
uh
it's not going to crystallize in a day, a week, or a year.
yeah, yeah.
Not.
It it's going to take some time, and you truly need a guide. You
That's right.
truly need a guide,
That's right.
So, praise Allah, man. For
You
the
got the doc
prophet.
right here,
Hmm.
and since again we're on the topic of what is your nationality, so we're getting back to well the whole entire show has been on the basis of it,
Hmm.
but when you look at nationality, the term nationality comes from the word nation,
That's right.
so allowing people to just get a feel of it, of what nationality is and what it is in its true sense, right? So the definition of nation: a nation is a community of people united by a common race, a shared a shared culture, a descent origin, a language, a religion, and a historical experience. That sounds about right.
Hmm.
And then you have common descent, persons inhabiting a nation usually having a common origin and descent. You also have geographical boundaries, a nation that is at the same time a state that has a clear cut geographical boundary. People that form a nation may live within a defined territory. And that reminds me of what's mentioned in the resurrection book. of a
Mm-hmm.
specific portion of land that's carved out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have government. It says most nation states have their own political institutions that come together to form a government. Common language. Inhabitants of a nation have a common language. And it's a little bit more to that. Let me go to page 2. And then you also have infrequent internal ethnic conflicts. That's that word ethnic again. So it's letting you
Right.
know that it is tied into nationhood, and nationality. One other unique characteristic and advantage of a nation is the fact that conflicts and disagreements are not as pronounced as in the case in the diverse or heterogeneous states. So you're going to have issues, and you're going to have upheavals and things of that nature, but that's not something that's foreign to a nation or a nationality of people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you also have a common religion. People inhabiting the nation tend to have a common religion, and they also have the same cultural practices. People of a nation usually have the same customary or traditional practices. It's perhaps one of the most striking characteristics of a nation. And, just to kind of tie that into what we went over last week, and let me see if I still have it up here. You can continue, She, while I'm pulling it up. If
Yeah,
you don't,
yeah. It's just it's just important that people, take the time to really sit back and listen to what it is that we saying, as opposed to becoming emotional
that's right.
about what what it is that we're saying. Because uh, a lot of things that our parents, our grandparents, our great grandparents introduced us to, it was good for that particular time, but we can't be emotionally connected to it to be able to see, hey, they might have had one or two things wrong.
That's right.
It doesn't take anything away from them. It's just how they were educated, or what they were taught, and they were taught certain things on purpose to mislead and misguide them. And here we come on their on their shoulders, of course, because of the things that they have experienced and went through, and because of the era time that we grew up in. We were a little more curious. Uh, we wanted to know a few more questions, and it all has to do with us living in this Aquarian age, right?
That's right.
Um, where KRS One, he say on one, I think it's I Got Next, um, and where he talks about where we are living in the age of Aquarius, where truth and knowledge will take care of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who was the one who introduced us, our people. He was one of the first ones to come, and of course, the forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Aurelius Garvey, who we refer to as being John the Baptist.
That's right.
They were some of the first individuals to reveal this truth to us in this particular era of time, right?
That's right.
So, praise the. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask you, Mo, man. Did you ever hear that about Harriet Tubman's name not being actually Harriet Tubman?
Yeah, I heard that she had a different name. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found that to be
Her name was
interesting.
changed.
Yeah, I found. You know, I'm gonna dig some more into it, but yeah, that just came to mind, and I'm like, because Harriet Tubman, she was instrumental in establishing the Underground Railroad, and
Right.
it's some history that connects the Underground Railroad to the Moorish Science Temple of America as well. So that's a blessing. It just that was a random thought. That was a random thought.
Because even on Sunday, and to our audience, we're not segueing off of it. It's just, it's tying it together. On Sunday, during Sunday school, we were learning about, the demonstration in the resurrection book on Frederick Douglass.
Okay,
And I was hitting on the point on amalgamation, etc. But then I said, well, his name initially wasn't Frederick Douglass, it was Frederick Lloyd.
you're
But
right.
then the Mo Smoothhill, he said the Mo had a different name too. The Mo name was Frederick Bailey. The Mo had
Oh, okay, yeah, I heard that. I've read
yeah,
that before.
so yeah, he had Armanita Ross. That's what
That's
it is.
yeah, that's
That's
right.
right. That's right.
That's
She
right.
Hashemil.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So it's interesting, Mo. You know what I'm saying? It's very interesting. Nationality. So we have a few minutes remaining. In the great book of the resurrection, the truth be yourself and not somebody else. If I draw your cut, new era of time, humanity, defend her or she'll defend herself. I'm the author, Grand Sheik Timothy G. Dingle Lil, hyphenated Noble Drew Ali in this era of time, fulfilling the works, carrying on the works of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, resurrecting the works of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, which you'll find in the resurrection, but giving us a better understanding of what this movement is all about, in line, not superseding or taking anything away from the works that were brought by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but the Great Book of the Resurrection is also known as Divine Pamphlet Number 2. It is our civil law book and Bible as well, and it allows us to solve any problem, whether it be private or public. Islam.
Islam.
So I want to just continue, and I took the page down, but I'll put it back up at a later day. But on page 48 and 49, I'm on page 49, and we left off. It says, "We, the Moorish people by nationality, were brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century. By being disobedient, we suffered slavery. We suffered for not honoring the principles of our fathers and mothers. Let me take my time. Our nationality was taken away, and race likewise, by the European nations in 1779. In 1913 AD, our prophet came to us and brought to us our true records, telling us that we are Moorish Americans. We are Moorish because our forefathers inhabited Morocco, that is, the part of the world or the land the pharaohs of Egypt gave them permission to settle and inhabit. Moabites is the ancient name for Moorish or Moroccans. We adopted the national name America because we are children of our forefathers and mothers born here in America, which makes us American born and Moroccan descent. Our race, Asiatic, never changes." And that's according to chapter 47 in the Holy Quran. Because Walter Ashby Plecker, his power don't extend beyond the great
The great
universal
God
truth
of
of
law.
love,
That's right.
not by one bit. And this is what it also says, and we're going to conclude. It is our prophet's desire for his people to always claim their descent, since Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America. It is no more right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. The prophet teaches us that we are citizens of the United States only when we proclaim our descent, origin, and free national name before the national constitution of the United States of America like other citizens. And if we fail to do that, we are misused, imprisoned, or exiled. And you can look at the conditions that we find ourselves in here in America, and we found ourselves in. And there's no separation, but I say we find ourselves because the plight of our people is the plight of us. You know, we don't make a separation. The plight is the plight. And this is the importance because the prophet is teaching us those things necessary to make us better citizens. And it also says, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent names because they place their trust upon issues and names formed by their forefathers. Please observe the diagram below. And the last point I want to just raise is this. It says, you will notice that I've pointed out the direct origin of each nationality, therefore making it only two races. And those two races, the first is Asiatic and the other is European. The name Negroid should be removed out of circulation because that is a mark that was put upon Moors of the northwestern shores of Africa by the European nations in 1774. Negro, a name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contains black water, and it is obvious that no water can produce a nation of people.
That's right.
Islam.
Islamism.
Islamism.
So, hopefully, which I'm sure we did, but I'm gonna say hopefully that we unpacked a few things in reference to the last three shows,
Right.
in reference to nationality, why it's important to have one, and what our nationality is, and hopefully people will be able to develop a better understanding of it. And don't just take our word for it, but we also want you to visit the Moorish Science Temple of America if you can all at all possibly do so,
That's right.
because this is the only place that's teaching our people who they are and where we come from, what our true race is, what our true religion is, and what our true heritage is, So praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
Hmm.
We thank everybody for tuning in to the Moorish Sense Channel. We'll be back next Thursday. Uh, we're going to be back next Thursday. If you have any questions at all between now and then, you can shoot us an email at moorishsensemedia@gmail.com, or you can comment on this video or our past videos on YouTube and on Facebook as well. We have a Facebook page as well as a YouTube page. We also want to invite you out to the temple, 1055 North Milton Avenue. That's temple number 13, located in Northeast Baltimore. My hours of service, 8 to 10. It's the holy day on Fridays, every Friday, 8 to 10, 12 to 2. For Moorish Sunday School, you can come and ask your questions. There's no such thing as a unmeaningful question. Just ask
That's
your
right.
questions, and you're amongst family, and we really mean that. We also want to let you know about the hours of our sister temple, located in West Baltimore. That's Temple 13-2. Same hours, 12 to 2 on Sundays, 8 to 10 on Fridays, 2900 Pressman Street in West Baltimore. The Grand Sheik is Grand Sheik Eric Thompson Bay. Trying to think anything else, Sheik?
Um, not at this time.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. We just hope that you enjoy watching, and just keep watching, keep giving your support.
That's right.
And by all means, if you do disagree respectfully. That's all we ask.
That's right.
We
Right.
we we communicate. We
We
don't
don't
debate.
debate. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't debate. We communicate, and that's the only way that we're going to be able to intelligently um intelligently get to um our answer.
We
Oh
also
yeah,
had temple number 27 in Atlanta, Georgia. We also
Atlanta,
had temple.
Georgia,
That's right. Uh,
Temple 39, Bethlehem,
39 in
and
Bethlehem. Yeah,
Durham, North Carolina.
that's right. Temple number
Uh,
11-1 in Philadelphia.
yeah, we got there's also some other temples here in Baltimore.
Right.
Temple on Park Heights,
Bel Air Road.
and it's a temple on Bel Air Road.
That's right.
Um, Grand Sheik Daryl Johnson Bay is at Park Heights.
That's right. You got Grand Sheik.
Grand Sheik Lomax Bay on
That's
Bel
right.
Air Road. Um, where man, we got temples in Albany, two temples in one in Albany, one in Troy.
That's right.
We'll get the addresses for you. Um, and later and later in later shows we'll have the exact addresses for you. So if you are in a city or state, um, in one of those cities or states, you'll be able to visit. Also, we're working on some a virtual platform as well. That's coming in later dates. To be able, excuse me, if people are far away and they're not able to, get to a temple,
That's right.
you'll be able to attend virtually.
And
Of
then interactive too.
Yeah, and interactive, right? Absolutely. So,
Islam. So praise
um,
Allah.
yeah, Temple 39 in Bethlehem actually has that option now.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they actually have that option. So,
Islam is.
we're working on to catch up with with Temple 39. Yeah, that's right. Praise Allah. That's Grand Sheik.
That's it,
Grand
right?
Sheik Grand Sheik. Nasir Maya Il and Grand Sheik is Hope Maya Il.
That's right.
Beautiful family. Yeah,
Right.
so praise Allah. And that's another thing. We about family. We're a family oriented organization.
Islamism.
Islam.
Islam. So we're going
Praise
to end
Allah.
off with the Moorish American prayer, and then we're going to sign off.
Islam.
Islam.
Allah the Father of the universe,
Allah, the Father of the universe,
Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my God,
my God,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night
By night
and by day.
and by day,
Through his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam.
Islam. Peace.